My Bloody Valentine's Loveless has come to be recognized as an important development in the history of alternative rock. Released in 1991, the same year as Nirvana's Nevermind, Bloodless is a 180 from the grunge scene. Focusing more on the post-punk sound that dominated England's underground scene in the 1980s, this second record from My Bloody Valentine hinted at a dreamier side of the noise Nirvana was making. Instead of angst, like grunge defined, this style of music focused on the ethereal side of emotion, calling for a wide use of pedals. Since these artists, like My Bloody Valentine, were thought to be constantly staring down at their pedal boards to get the desired dreamy effect, the genre would be defined as shoegaze. Think of My Bloody Valentine as the Nirvana of shoegaze. They helped define, lay the groundwork, and characterize the sound. Not all was peachy, however. The culmination of bandleader Kevin Shields' own creative undoing, Bloodless initially suffered massive production setbacks. Being that Shields was a stickler for audio perfection, he had lofty goals for how the Loveless songs would come out in the studio. When his initial demands for perfection weren't realized by the various studios and engineers that took up the venture, Shields and the band's work became increasingly erratic, filled with starts and stops, sometimes spending only a day at a studio before moving to the next one. When all was said and done, the band's label, Creation Records, nearly went bankrupt over the recording costs, which some have estimated to exceed $250,000. Additionally, the tedious nature of the recording and Shields' obsessiveness over the project amounted to a 3-year wait, from the start of production in 1989 to the album's release in 1991. The results, while unique, display a level of inconsistency, with samples being used instead of the drumming of Colmo Quiosig on some tracks. The album feels more like a failed experiment at times. Still, there are some high points. Only Shallow finds the luscious vocals of Belinda Butcher to be highly incoherent, while still supplementing the euphoric mix of noisy instruments. When You Sleep, meanwhile, reveals the man behind most of the instruments, Kevin Shields, singing incoherently too. Much like the previous track though, the vocals are so far back in the mix that they are merely an instrument. The strength of these songs are in the different guitar tones that emanate from the speakers. It will leave your ears ringing for sure, but the more you listen, the more you hear the depth of what Shields was going for in the layering of sounds. It's almost a beautiful haze of noise that comes through, especially in these instances, that makes Bloodless at least respectable. However, a majority of the other songs seem like partially completed experiments into the world of electronic music, with Shields often replacing the bottom end of rhythm section, bassist Debbie Googe and aforementioned drummer Colmo Quiosig in favor of sampled beats. It's an admirable attempt at something new, but the songs suffer from feeling like sound collages, rather than memorable tunes. The songwriting, thus, is quite limited, which is the biggest complaint on the record. Some people will find it charming and indulge deeper, but for something as conceptually difficult as Bloodless was, it's a somewhat disappointing result in lieu of such high expectations. We give this album a rating of 7 out of 10. Let us know in the comments below what you thought about My Bloody Valentine's album, Loveless. Thanks for watching.